Welcome, everybody, to session 3 of the 21-day sugar detox. On this webinar, we're going to talk about what you should do once you're done with the sugar detox. And just like we did on our first webinar, planning and preparing for the start of the detox, we are going to be talking about planning and preparing for the end of the detox, what that looks like for you, what foods you want to reintroduce, and what you want your new normal to look like. So, after the detox, we want you to spend some time during the last week, the last couple days of your detox to pause and reflect on your detox experience and ask yourself some questions. What did you learn? How do you feel now? What symptoms improved? Within the daily detox emails and the daily guidebook, there will be journal prompts with these questions and more, having you reflect on what you felt, what you learned, all of that during the detox, and how you want your new normal to be once you've completed the detox. In this last week, the last couple days of the detox, you may be wondering how you're going to ease back into your normal life, maybe what foods you want to splurge on once the detox is over, but we want you to stop right there because, as I said, we want you to use these days to pause and reflect on your experience, what you've learned throughout the process, what nuggets of wisdom did you have, and what wisdom do you want to proceed with your food choices moving forward. You might be thinking with excitement about all the things you haven't eaten during the last couple of weeks, but going on a sugar bender once the detox is done is only going to make you feel horrible. And after all the effort you've put in the past 21 days, we don't want that to happen. We want you to pause and reflect on a couple things before you take down that glass of juice or slice of pizza or whatever it may be. So ask yourself, are you able to identify which parts of your diet before the detox were high in refined, nutrient-poor carbs and added sugars, or were there trigger foods that led you to wanting to eat more and more? And how do you feel now that you've reduced the amount of sugar or refined, nutrient-poor carbs you eat? How has your sleep been? What about your digestive function? Do you think that eating sugary or carb-rich foods will make you feel better or worse? And how has the time and energy commitment that you've put into avoiding sugar and nutrient-poor carbs impacted stress in your life? And initially, you may have felt some stress at the start of the detox, but how does this compare to the feelings of not having sugar and carbs control your life and food choices? So just some questions to be thinking about, processing, writing them out in your daily guidebook, answering them as you finish out the detox. So again, pausing, reflecting, thinking about those questions, taking some time to answer them, and then also thinking about what foods you want to reintroduce and what foods shouldn't be reintroduced. We know you want to bring back some foods that you've missed, and we want you to be smart about choosing those foods. We're going to take a look at the reintroduction chart, give you some ideas of foods to reintroduce. We'll go over the reintroduction assessment and schedule, and then just know that you will begin reintroducing foods on day 22, that you have another week after the detox is finished to be reintroducing some foods, testing some foods to see, if you have any reactions to certain foods. So thinking about foods you ate prior to the detox that you thought may be hard on your digestion or causing you poor sleep or energy, those foods would be great to test in the week after the detox. So it's reintroducing foods, some ideas. For all levels, you could try reintroducing berries, see how you react to fruits. If berries are okay, then moving on to sweet fruits, seeing if you've got any reactions, symptoms, or triggers. Reintroducing fruits, does it then lead you to wanting other sweet things? So be paying attention to possible foods that trigger you, to eating more sweet things. Another option would be dark chocolate, starting 80% and above. Your palate should have changed by now so that sweet things almost taste too sweet. So a dark chocolate where before the detox you may not have liked, dark chocolate might be perfect now that you've reset your palate. For level 3, you haven't had dairy. And so starting by reintroducing goat or sheep dairy before moving to cow dairy would be a good option. With levels 2 and 3, reintroducing gluten-free whole grains like rice, oats, or quinoa could be an option. We don't recommend reintroducing gluten-containing grains or soy-based foods. With reintroducing foods, you're going to use the reintroduction assessment. You're going to be paying attention to energy, mood, skin, digestion, sleep, hormones, and anything else. You want to describe how you feel before and after eating whatever food you're reintroducing. You'll be taking notes about these things before eating, immediately after eating, and then 1 to 2 hours, 4 to 8 hours, and the day after eating. So in this chart, the assessment chart is in your daily guidebook to use. With reintroducing foods, it's a 2-day cycle where on day 1, you're going to eat that reintroduced food at each meal. You'll journal any reactions. And then on day 2, you're not going to eat that food again, but you're going to continue to journal any reactions. So what that looks like is on day 22, say the first food you want to test or reintroduce are strawberries. So you'll eat strawberries at every meal, journal reactions. You won't eat those strawberries on day 23, but you will continue to journal any reactions. On day 24, you're going to move to your number 2 reintroduction food. Test it out for 2 days, and then move on to your 3rd reintroduction food, and so on. Anything to add, Kathy, in the way of foods to reintroduce or anything else?
Yeah, I was going to suggest on reintroducing cow dairy if you're on level 3. As Jolie said, starting with the hard cheeses, then soft cheeses. I would suggest trying yogurt and kefir. They're fermented. They're probably easier to digest for most people as far as adding those to the list. And then I would also like to mention that if you do notice that you've had a possible reaction to a food, I mean, sometimes it's just hard to put your finger right on it. I suggest omitting that food and then try reintroducing it later and notice if you have the same type of reaction, just to be able to identify if it was a true reaction or something else going on in your life at that time. So, yeah. So anyway, it can seem daunting to move from a very structured program into an everyday life, and you may feel like you simply aren't sure how to proceed. So it's really important to take the time and the planning in this next phase of the detox, and important to keep your head in check during the days and the weeks that follow the detox. It's still a learning process. Instead of having rules, you now have to make your own decisions, and instead of having structure, you will be in the process of creating your own new habits based on what you've learned while you're on the detox. So I'll go into reintroducing some other tips on reintroducing foods. Important to go slow, consider portions and timing. You know, a large portion of a food might have more of a reaction than a smaller portion, so think about those portions. Practice mindful eating, you know, again, going slow, and portion sizes, again, as I mentioned. You don't want to throw away the hard work that you've done, so think hard about what you want to achieve, both physically and emotionally. As far as consuming fruits, eat them with some sort of protein or fat like cheese, nuts, or nut butter. Combining carbohydrates with a fat or protein will slow down the blood sugar insulin response, which will be less stress on your body. Eat starchy carbohydrates like winter squash or sweet potatoes after exercise or at dinner. And if you're an active person, you can usually tolerate larger portions of the starchy carbohydrates as well. Pay attention to any reactions. Possible reactions to newly reintroduced foods can include symptoms that we talked about in the first session, but things like low energy, fatigue, brain fog, feeling low or unhappy, skin reactions, digestion symptoms such as gas, bloating, diarrhea, or constipation, trouble sleeping. You know, again, just listen to your body as you begin to reintroduce the new foods. So foods that we don't recommend for reintroduction ever, as Jolie mentioned, gluten-containing grains like wheat, barley, rye, spelt. There are a few others, so just be aware. We don't recommend reintroducing conventionally raised pastured dairy. And as Jolie mentioned, soy products are generally are not recommended, but if you choose to reintroduce soy, make sure it's fermented soy and organic. That's the best choice for soy. We don't ever recommend reintroducing refined and or artificial sweeteners. Instead, choose natural sweeteners as an occasional treat, like local honey or real maple syrup or green leaf stevia. The foods that we mentioned in this slide are foods that are pro-inflammatory. They contain anti-nutrients that work against our health. So finding your new normal and creating and embracing new habits, it's kind of exciting here. Revisit your why. What was your motivation for choosing the detox? Find your mindset. Identify your new strengths. What did you learn about yourself during the detox? Review the notes that you wrote during the program and see how much you've learned and how far you've come. One of the things that we do recommend is to examine whether or not you're an abstainer or a moderator. If you're the type that you know if you deny yourself altogether, you'll fall off the wagon, for you it may be better to allow yourself an occasional treat. If you're someone that finds it easier to give up something altogether than to indulge in moderation, that's something for you to consider. So you're a moderator if you find that occasional indulgences heighten your pleasure and strengthens your resolve. You're a moderator if you get panicky at the thought of never getting or doing something again. As an abstainer, you may have trouble stopping something once you've started. You just can't control yourself. As an abstainer, you aren't tempted by things that you've decided are off limits. So, you might not be a purist abstainer or a purist a moderator. You might be a combination of both. And maybe you can handle having some foods in moderation while avoiding others entirely. And that's really valid. Ask yourself, and again, know about yourself. What are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? Balance healthy eating with occasional treats. Again, this is the abstainer versus moderator. You are in control, so know yourself and know which type of reaction you have to foods and treats. Will you treat yourself for a meal, for a day or two, or while you're on vacation? Regardless, it's just important to have a plan to both reward yourself, and that doesn't have to be food rewards. That can be a pedicure, a manicure, other types of rewards. And also, if you do choose to reward yourself, have a plan to get back on your chosen nutritional approach. So finding your new normal, you're empowered now. Apply what you've learned about nutrition and what you've learned about yourself during the detox. Establish a sustainable nutritional approach and lifestyle that works for you. Decide which elements of the detox you will continue and which you will feel that you can easily bend. Or if you do better with rules, figure out what those rules will be for you. If you need accountability, enlist a friend or family member to continue to help through this process. And you can do this. Share and journal what your new normal looks like for you. Just imagine. So you guys have done a great job, and I'm really excited for you as you go forward. And Jolie, anything else to add right now?
Yeah, I would just say stay strong and focused the last week of the detox as well as that post-detox week. Really spend some time reintroducing foods, journaling any reactions, and paying attention to those things. Also, revisit the successes you experienced during the detox. Let that be motivation for you. We'd love to hear about your successes. And so once the detox is over, once the post-detox week for you is finished, you'll receive a survey from us. And we would love to have you let us know how the detox went for you. We're always looking on how to improve the program, what you liked, what you didn't like, and know that Kathy and I are available to you still after the detox. If you've got questions that come up, or if you want to do the detox again, it will always be available to you to repeat whenever you want to, or just to live a detox nutrition lifestyle is definitely possible to do as well. So we're excited for you all to complete the detox and create your new normal. So we wish you the best. And like I said, if you need to get a hold of us, we're definitely available for you. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.